We're going to interrupt our normal production of The Complete Creation for this special report mini-series. At the time of this recording, it is late May of 2021. Over the past year and a half, we have used that word unprecedented an unprecedented number of times. I'm going to do it again. During the past couple of months, and the past couple of weeks in particular, there has been an unprecedented amount of chatter regarding UFOs, and by the time all four parts of this mini-series airs, the U.S. Senate should have received its report on UFO phenomenon from its intelligence communities. In late 2020, when the U.S. Senate was trying to put through the COVID-19 relief bill, President Trump vowed to veto the bill unless there were changes made. One of the changes he asked for was for the military and intelligence community to release as much of their classified UFO data as possible. Now, I don't know why Trump decided this, other than he had previously expressed interest in the 1947 Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash, and I guess when he was president, he took advantage of the privileges and read up on the classified report. Well, I don't know about you, I would have. Regardless of everybody's reasons, UFOs have virtually overnight gone from weird science to mainstream. The last few months have been drinking from the fire hose, with mainstream media and large audience YouTubers all producing special shows on the topic. Invariably, the topic always winds up gravitating towards aliens, alien life, things not of this world. And make no mistake about it, the numbers of UFO reports and claimed alien encounters are staggering. So, what exactly is going on here? Are these aliens? Are these alien craft? What can we say scientifically about all of this? What does the Bible say about all of this? This is part one of this mini-series, a Genesis Week special report. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Ian Juby. If you've been watching the Complete Creation series, this mini-series is included as bonus DVDs. I was going to touch on this topic in this series anyway, but unprecedented events call for unprecedented action. My interests in the topic have been multifaceted. My scientific curiosity with UFO sightings and black tech or classified technologies, my own first-hand research into alleged anti-gravity and alternative propulsion systems, my own personal investigations into the disturbing alien abduction phenomenon, the surprising connections to the creation evolution topic, which of course I've spent decades researching and speaking on that topic. Multiple surveys have been conducted over the past several decades, and you will notice a rise in reports of UFO and alien encounters. But the poll results have been both surprising and consistent. The organization formerly known as Ufology Research of Manitoba is now the Canadian UFO Survey, cataloging UFO reports since 1989. They conducted a survey of Canadians in 1997. That survey showed about 1 in 10 people have seen a UFO. Now, this number is consistent right across the board in other countries and cultures and would equate to about 3.7 million Canadians who have had a UFO encounter. In 1999, Roper polled Americans, and again in 2002 as commissioned by the Sci-Fi Channel. In 2008, Scripps also conducted a UFO poll. all polls have consistently shown around 8 to 12% of those surveyed have had a UFO encounter. All polls also showed that about 94% of respondents said they'd hop on the first UFO available to get off planet Earth. Oh yeah, I made that part up. But we all know it's true. But there's a subtle and far more disturbing statistic buried in these polls. Consistently, over the years, polls have shown that between 2 and 3% of those surveyed believe they have had an encounter with extraterrestrial life. Aliens. Almost all of those people were subjected to the horrible and traumatizing alien abduction experience. And it usually doesn't happen just once. Almost always, the alleged aliens come back and do it over and over again. 2 to 3%, that's a staggering average of 1 in 40. So go ask 40 random people you know. And statistically speaking, at least one of them has been abducted by an alien. So when I say you're not alone, I'm not trying to make you paranoid or nothing, and I'm not referring to extraterrestrial life. I'm saying there are hundreds of millions of people on Earth who have had the same or similar experiences with UFOs and aliens. Just in Canada alone, if we use the 2.5% average figure, some 940,000 Canadians have experienced the horrible alien abduction phenomenon, and they are usually too afraid to talk about it. There would be over 8 million people in the US who have experienced alien abduction. The alien abduction aspect is especially dark and disturbing, and on that note, viewer discretion is advised. We will be discussing adult-oriented materials not suitable for younger viewers, and frankly, even some adult viewers will find it disturbing. So, viewer discretion is advised. The Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON for short, is an international organization established in 1969 devoted to the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. The group is composed of a global network of researchers who investigate UFO sightings. They actually release a monthly database of these events. Now, the United States always tops the list of events, typically with 300 to 600 UFO reports per month. For the month of April 2021, they had 381 reports they had investigated just in the United States. But notice this little tagline they threw in at the bottom of their monthly report. Most impressively, there were 9 landings, hovering, or takeoffs reported, and 19 entities observed. Entities? And these were all typical monthly statistics. It's been like this for decades. Here's the May 2020 report. Most impressively, there were 26 landings, hovering, or takeoffs, and 34 entities observed. Now, during the pandemic, the numbers of UFO reports has gone down because people are outside less. But this past month, May of 2021, saw 751 reports come in from the US and 56 from Canada. And most impressively, there were 30 landings, hovering, or takeoffs reported, and 22 entities observed. Now, I know what you're thinking. Juby, this entire Complete Creation series, the Genesis Week TV show, it's all on the topic of creation and evolution. Why are you diving into a wacky topic like UFOs and aliens? Well, actually, though it may not be immediately evident, this entire topic is firmly rooted in the creation-evolution debate. Furthermore, I have been nothing less than floored by the sheer volume of reports and events that have literally gone mainstream the past few months. Not just the volume of reports, but who is giving the reports. The military, the intelligence community, science and tech gurus on YouTube, and even YouTubers who typically only deal in political commentary. Ron Watkins, whom we all affectionately know as Code Monkey Z, just released a website modeled after WikiLeaks, where he hopes that those with insider information into UFO technology will leak classified data. All of these events prompted me to revisit the topic and make this mini-series. So back in 2010, I gave a lecture on the topic, which was produced on DVD, entitled Genesis and Aliens. I produced that video because at that time, I was on the road in full-time creation science ministry. I would travel all over North America with my portable museum, speaking on the topic of creation and evolution. I would always have questions and answers after every lecture, and I watched over the years as the number one question that came up was, what about aliens? What about life on other planets? What about UFOs? What pushed me over the edge was when I was speaking for Teen Week at the Ross Haven Bible Camp in Alberta. In the space of 2 days, I had about 8 different people privately ask me about aliens, life on other planets, etc. Even children at schools and Bible camps were asking these questions. So it was obvious this was a topic heavily on the minds of the public. And this was all before the time of History Channel's hit TV series Ancient Aliens. One of their number one shows, and now running for 16 seasons. Now, love them or leave them, one cannot deny that the hit series has made an impact on pop culture and promoting the ideas of aliens to the general public, with millions of faithful viewers. And you gotta admit, they simultaneously graced us with some pretty epic memes. Now, in my hour-and-a-half lecture, I actually skipped over the topic of UFOs almost entirely because the focus was on the alien abduction phenomenon. But now this year, there has been probably dozens of Freedom of Information Act requests filed and granted on UFOs. And the mainstream media has been airing loads of interviews with military personnel about UFOs. For example, the decades-running CBS TV show, 60 Minutes, just last week aired an episode where they interviewed former military personnel about their encounters with UFOs, which the military and intelligence community are now calling UAPs, for unidentified aerial phenomenon. They're trying to get away from the historical stigma associated with UFOs, right? The descriptions of what they saw are nothing less than stunning. 2 F-18 pilots gave their first-hand testimony on their now declassified UFO encounter, described as a tic-tac-shaped drone about the size of their own aircraft, so quite large. But this tic-tac drone moved in impossible ways. These drones were being tracked for weeks by a nearby ship's radar. And when the targets once again appeared on radar while the aircraft were up for a training mission, the pilots were then sent to investigate. Notice this was multiple sensors, radar, infrared cameras, and of course the eyes of 4 individuals on board the 2 aircraft. The UFO was first spotted on radar at about 80,000 feet altitude and descended to sea level in about 1 second. Now, I did the maths. 80,000 feet is about 15 miles. 15 miles per second? That works out to over 54,000 miles an hour, or 86,400 kilometers an hour. By comparison, the lowly International Space Station maintains its orbit going a measly 27,575 kilometers an hour in the vacuum of space. We all saw what happened to the Space Shuttle Columbia upon re-entering the very thin upper atmosphere at 16,700 miles per hour. But these tic-tac shaped drones were apparently flying more than 3 times that hypersonic speed through sea level atmosphere. But Commander Fravor first spoke publicly about this incident in 2017 on Tucker Carlson Tonight on the Fox News network. Notice that Commander Fravor said exactly what so many people are inclined to say. At that time, Fravor said that the tic-tac drone was not from this world. You'll also please notice the entire incident itself happened in 2004, almost 17 years ago. Think about that for a second. Where were you 17 years ago? What technology were you familiar with back then? Facebook and Skype were launched in 2004. Mozilla's Firefox browser arose from the ashes of Netscape to give Microsoft's Internet Explorer a run for its money. YouTube would not come online for another year, and the iPhone wouldn't be invented for another 3 years. So, if these sightings of tic-tac shaped drones were almost 2 decades ago, well, just how many people have seen that UFO somewhere else in all of these years? Intriguingly, tic-tac shape is actually a common description many UFO observers give. It's also exactly the description written down by naval observers on US warships in 2019 just off the coast of California. So, 15 years later, maybe 130 miles apart, several US naval destroyers were swarmed by smaller but still tic-tac shaped UFOs with multiple incidents over several weeks. Now, back in March, The Drive published their investigations into the 2019 incidents after filing requests through the Freedom of Information Act. And you can read their fascinating analysis here and see the original ship's logs and the documents they received. Nobody knows where these tic-tac drones came from. They can only say that they had to have taken off from a minimum of 100 miles away. And they were buzzing the ships for an hour and a half at a time. The drones shadowed the ships and were observed going speeds of 45 miles an hour and tracking the ships at night and in horrible visibility conditions. Now, just a couple of weeks ago, documentary filmmaker Jeremy Corbell released leaked footage taken in the Combat Information Center of the USS Omaha the same night and area as the other reports. The video was showing the real-time tracking of one of at least 14 spherical UFOs that were a minimum of 6 feet in diameter and were observed flying for a minimum of an hour at speeds of 46 to 158 miles per hour or 74 to 254 kilometers per hour. Most shockingly, the video shows the UFO flying above the surface of the water and then apparently entering the water and continuing its travels underwater.
Yeah, we have 31 knots sustained wind, topside, gust of 40.
What was splashed? Splashed. Mark bearing and range.
A nearby submarine was sent to investigate the spot where the craft entered the water, which was now well documented. But the sub turned up nothing. You can see the original clip itself via Jeremy's various social media pages at Jeremy Corbell, and I do recommend you look him up on Twitter and Instagram. Louis Elizondo was former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. ATIP was a group specifically tasked with investigating the ridiculous volume of UFO UAP encounters and to, understandably, assess both the capabilities and potential threat these UAPs have. He was one of the interviewees on 60 Minutes special episode, and he succinctly laid out the capabilities of the numerous UAP observations, and his points are very significant. Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles an hour, that can evade radar, and that can fly through air, and water and possibly space. And oh, by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet can still defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity. That's precisely what we're seeing. Now, as he said in the 60 Minutes interview, we are way beyond whether or not UFOs exist. And I hope I brought that point home in this part of the miniseries. Even if we wrote off 99% of the MUFON UFO reports as party balloons, planets in the sky, conventional aircraft mistakenly seen with unconventional abilities, we would still have around 5 UFO sightings per month that were unexplained flying craft. As also mentioned in the 60-minute interviews, and has been an open secret for decades, there have been times where military aircraft flying around and above the U.S. were encountering UFOs or UAPs on a daily basis. Getting photographs, hood and gun camera footage, radar tracks, etc.
No, I took an auto track.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that, man. Look at it fly.
But the capabilities of some of these UFOs would seem to defy physics as we know it. In a Fox News interview on March 22nd of this year, former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe mentioned about the UAP capabilities in passing. Movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. This would tie in with the 2004 Tic Tac UFO observations, where apparently the craft was able to fly at hypersonic speeds in sea-level atmosphere without burning up. Evidently, the creators of the craft were able to control aerodynamics in ways that seem to defy physics as we know it. We are now pushing the boundaries of the supernatural realm. In fact, Mr. Alessandro eventually resigned from ATIP because of all the pushback he was getting at the Pentagon to stop his investigation into these UAPs. In a recent interview he had with Stephen Greenstreet on the New York Post's The Basement Office show, Lou told of an encounter with a senior officer at the Pentagon for whom he had much respect. This unnamed officer told him flat out that these UAPs are demonic and we shouldn't be pursuing them. Alessandro admitted he was religious, but shared his convictions on how investigation into UAPs should be continued, even if it turns out they are simply demonic manifestations, because what if they aren't? What if the majority were simply demonic and only a few of these encounters were from another nation state or even extraterrestrial technology? I mean, take a look at where all of these UAP encounters were taking place. All in one little square off the coast of California. Obviously, the drones didn't come from the US, and most likely not Mexico. Now, I wouldn't put anything past those sneaky Canadians, but again, it's unlikely they came from there. The investigations by the US Navy pretty much ruled out any nearby ships, so just where did they come from? They are an awful long way away from anywhere. I mean, if you were a nation state called, say, West Taiwan, that was notoriously secret, had incredible human resources and technology, and a reputation for not caring too much about human and environmental safety, and you wanted to test the defenses of, say, the United States with your fancy new super tech aircraft, wouldn't you pick the shortest path to the US? Notice where all the reports I cited are centered, right off the coast of California. Now, I might be wrong, I might be, but I have my suspicions about the origin of these UAPs. The whole point of ATIP was to assess the threat. And even if a couple of these UAP encounters are technology from another nation state, how are these astonishing capabilities not a threat to U.S. national security? The 2004 Tic Tac observations clearly show that this very large craft can go anywhere in the world they would like, and do it so fast that any nation would be hard-pressed to even detect the incoming attack, let alone launch a response. In the next part of this mini-series, we'll examine the possibilities before us, approaching it all from a scientific perspective. Is it incredible nation-state super technology that we're seeing? Is it extraterrestrials? Or is that one Pentagon officer right, and they're all just demonic manifestations? How would we know, and why should we care? The people who have claimed to have had direct encounters with aliens, what light can their testimonies shed on the UFO phenomenon? And because we're very possibly looking at supernatural events, we'll examine it all from the biblical perspective as well. I hope you'll join me in the next episode.
You can catch the entire series in a variety of ways. You can watch the show online at www.completecreation.org or www.genesisweek.com. You can also purchase the Complete Creation series in full high definition on Blu-ray or video on demand at completecreation.org. Or support the Miracle Channel with a monthly tax-deductible donation and access the entire Complete Creation series in high definition through Corco, Miracle Channel's video on demand service. We need your support to keep this program on the air, so please pray for us. And if you wish to financially support the program, Canadians can make a tax-deductible donation to Core Ottawa, Canada North Post Office Box 72075, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, K2K2P4. Or you can make a donation via PayPal online at ianjuby.org/donations. And thank you for your support.